Well, it never worked for Liston against Ali. It didn't work for George against Ali. But that's Ali, who's been a super champion and a superstar for a decade and more. See if it works against Jimmy Young. We're close to the bell. The opening round. George Foreman in silent prayer. George in the red trunks, Jimmy in the black trunks. Black and white, Jimmy in the dark trunks, George in the light trunks. Bout's underway. Jimmy Young, the quick left jab. His reach will surprise you. It is as long, maybe a half-inch longer than George's. Immediately, Young registers a complaint to Waldemar Schmidt about dirty tactics. One writer had a whole story about George training with dirty tactics. Makes good copy. We'll have to see what George does in the ring. First round action. Probing. Young's task, not to get careless, not to get impatient. There's that quick left jab of George's. Even when it doesn't look like much, ask the man who's hit by it. It's like a lamppost, a pistol. And he's staying away, flicking the left jab. Remember we said earlier, Hughes's task is to be in too close or out too far. Too close to be hurt by way of tying Foreman up, out too far to be hit by Foreman. Foreman comes right at the opponent, or slightly to the opponent's right, anticipating movement in that direction. In that way, he seeks to cut the ring in half and take advantage of a faster opponent, which Young is. 1 minute left in the first round. Clearly a tactical round. Feeling out process. Seconds left in the round. Physically, Foreman looks huge, and yet he's never been more trim. He looks so much bigger than Young, you wonder, can Jimmy be a heavyweight? Young taunting Foreman, talking to him. We approach the end of round one. The bell for round two. George Foreman, the red or the light trunks. Jimmy Young, the black or the dark trunks. The first round, a tactical round, as I said. It has often been said, it has often been written that there is nothing more subjective than the scoring of a fight. Chris and I will keep you abreast of our view of the scoring as we go along. But if one thing was proved in the Young-Ali fight, it's very difficult to score a fight involving Jimmy Young. Because, you see, he fights in the main a defensive fight, very cleverly, and using the counterpunch. However, against Ali, he didn't have the one-punch knockout fighter to worry about. He has that now with Foreman. This is the third time that Waldemar Schmidt has cautioned George Foreman. It's not like Olympic or amateur boxing, however, where a fighter will be penalized and lose points in the scoring of a round. Scoring on a 10-point must system.
He's pushing, Ref.
Jimmy Young with the right after a Foreman lead with the left. Left it drop. Young popped it right in.
Left hand, Jimmy. Go, Rep! Go, Rep!
Foreman pushing off on Young. Chief response from the crowd to this fight thus far has been to boo Foreman based upon the referee Waldemar Schmidt's remonstrances to George. Now George tried to get in quickly. He had a left lead that only grazed. Young complaining to Schmidt about the way Foreman was manhandling and brawling with him.
Come on, that bear is crushing you. That bear is crushing you. Come on. Left hand, left hand. Easy,
See the countdown for the second round in your lower right-hand corner of the field. Young with a good right against Foreman's chin. Foreman instantly enraged, went after Young. Jimmy Young, always a surprise, at least in every fight we've covered with him. Round 3 underway. The arena is a steam bath. Well up in the 90s at the very least. The fight is already filled with sweat. In the first 2 rounds, I think the principal focus would have to be on George Foreman's clear attempts to manhandle Jimmy Young the way he did Joe Frazier. However, it's been the tactic of the Young camp to emphasize this before the fight. And so, the Young corner keeps telling Jimmy, stay away, stick and move, and keeps telling referee Waldemar Schmidt, watch out for Foreman's tactics. Whether or not Foreman using tactics that are not entirely reputable is for you, the viewers, to judge. What he's been doing thus far is not very different from what any veteran fighter will do. Because it's not a pretty business. Third round action. Foreman always the pursuer. There was nothing there. Screams from the corner, and the crowd reacts. Wait a minute. He took away a point from George Foreman. I didn't realize they had that rule in effect here very candidly in Puerto Rico, but he told each judge to take away a point from George Foreman. Frankly, I couldn't see the basis for that. Remember in the Landover fight how Jimmy Young would lean his head through the ropes and out of the ring. Nobody penalized him for that. It's one of the reasons we told you it's so hard to score a fight involving Jimmy Young. But obviously, Young and his people have the official leaning very heavily in his favor in terms of any attempts to muscle Young by Foreman. Third round action. Good left lead by Young. Another left lead by Young. Foreman looking purposeful. Thus far in this, the third round, has thus far been unable to get to Young. Again, Waldemar Schmidt cautioning Foreman. Young at every turn finds cause to complain about Foreman's tactics. And the crowd is reacting in Young's favor. We're almost at the end of round 3.
3, 2, 1, go ahead.
The bell for round 4. Jimmy Young in the black or dark trunks coming out to face George Foreman in the red or light trunks. to reset. It has been totally a tactical fight thus far. The action is false. Young's plan, obviously, to get Foreman to lose emotional control of himself, to enrage him. And so at every turn, he is looking to the referee, Waldemar Schmidt, to complain about manhandling, brawling action. Right there, you saw another evidence, and quickly Schmidt responds, telling Foreman, who was penalized a point in one round, that he must cease and desist. Debris just thrown across the ring, right into this reporter's hand. Always had the good hands. But that's the set up till now. Young fighting his kind of fight, defensive and occasional counter punch. Foreman's job to control himself. So difficult to score a Jimmy Young fight. But in these first 3 rounds, I'd have to give Jimmy Young a slight edge, wouldn't you, Chris?
Yes, I certainly would. It just seems like Joe Louis used to say, you can run, but you can't hide. And that appears to what's happening right now. And Foreman is so strong.
He is a huge man. He makes Young seem like a light heavyweight by comparison. But his problem is well known, based upon his boxing history. Stamina. Young has said if he's not hurt in the first 5 rounds, and I've mentioned this earlier, he will win the fight. Once again, as Foreman pushes Young off in half disgust, Waldemar Schmidt cautions Foreman. George, with a left to the head, tried to come into the belly, but it was picked off basically by Young's glove. He's got such quick hands for defense. If there's a style to trouble Foreman, Jimmy Young has it. Many of us used to wonder why the late Yancey Durham ever gave George Foreman a shot at Joe Frazier in Kingston, Jamaica. Couldn't understand it, because Frazier's style was so right for Foreman's. Young's style is now puzzling Foreman. So do I. Round 5, and there is anger in George Foreman's face. He was just badgering A with his corner, B with some fans. The very thing from his point of view he must not do. We are coming to you live via the satellite from Roberto Clemente Coliseum. Scheduled 12 round of 5th round. Foreman against Young. Thus far, Young fighting his curious defensive style of fighting is clearly troubling Foreman. You know, Chris, they said Foreman had to punch shorter, and so he did against Frazier. But Frazier doesn't have the quick hands that Jimmy Young does, and therefore Foreman doesn't have to keep his gloves in punching position so constantly against a Frazier as he does against a Young, and he is not keeping his gloves steadily in punching position. Have you noticed?
Certainly noticed it, and there have been thud punches to the body that just happened there. Not really telling blows, because George very often hits with an open glove.
Fifth round action. Ali said after the 5th round there was nothing left in Foreman's punches. Young said, as I noted 2 days ago, if I'm not hurt by the 5th round, it's over for Foreman. However, words are idle things. Let's see what happens in the ring. Unless we have reason to tell you otherwise, this is to notify our stations along the line that we are coming up with a station break. 5th round action. Foreman to the left of your screen, Young to the right. Jimmy with a patch of gray in his head. But clearly it hasn't been from pre-fight worry. The two fighters have had one key common opponent, Ron Lyle. Twice, Jimmy Young boxed Lyle to a bear these. Tied him up inside and fought more offensively because of his total confidence against Lyle when he's fighting tonight. Once Foreman fought Lyle, that Las Vegas, Nevada, at Caesar's Palace. Foreman was decked twice by Lyle, but came back to knock Lyle out in the 5th round. Coming up the end of the round, we'll return after this from our local station. Sixth round action underway. Up till now, a dull fight. For the average viewer, much too tactical. Foreman unable thus far to get on track. Young now, coming into the 6th round, looking more sprightly on his feet. Look at the foot movement. Young trying to get to him with the jab, but Foreman always the pursuer. Foreman there attempting to go to the midsection. Might be a tendency here, Chris, for Young, having survived 5 rounds, to become a little more aggressive. In Young's corner, they were very confident between rounds that Jimmy is ahead. And they have Jimmy fighting the kind of fight that they want him to fight.
And now off to the right, they can hear his corner asking him to jab, jab, jab.
See that left thrown by Foreman? It was a kind of cuffing thing, and that too, with a half-open glove.
Right.
Not reflecting the power of Foreman, really. Gil Clancy over in the opposite corner, looking up, and he is noticeably concerned. 6th round action.
I don't think he can look for the one punch like Alfredo Escalera did against Ronnie McGarvey, ending it in the 6th round. The one punch, he's got to get some combinations here.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that, Chris. Not with the way Foreman can punch, but he's got to land.
Oh, boy, he's a pretty good defensive fighter.
Saw there the skills of Jimmy Young. Foreman was let free by the referee. He lunged in at Young, and Young, who's a master at slipping punches and picking punches with his gloves, came back with his own counter.
Ooh, now that's flagrant right there. Yet we should remind viewers, Howard, that the last thing a referee says, protect yourself at all times. So
Jimmy Young in this round has been just a touch more aggressive. Right there with the right. Counting down to the end of round 6. A curious fight. The bell for round 7. And another fight involving Jimmy Young that's difficult to score, difficult to decipher. Foreman has been pursuing, but he's never gotten on track. He's been all tied up by Jimmy Young. Right there, Young was hurt. Right there, Young was hurt by a Foreman left. Now he's in trouble. Suddenly, Foreman connected. Young is in trouble. He's going to have to draw on every boxing skill to survive. It happened with a quick, jolting left. That's what I meant, Chris. The power of Foreman is his knees. Now he's got him. Now he's got him. Question of whether or not he keeps his professional poise and can finish it. 7th round action. Jimmy Young in trouble. Jimmy Young in desperate trouble against the ropes. But Foreman trying to measure him. Can't connect cleanly. Young drawing upon every boxing resource.
A lot of punches being thrown.
How overconfident Young's corner was between rounds. They told us no contest. But suddenly Foreman struck. And so for the first time in his career, Foreman shows resurgent power in a later round of a fight.
But he should be smarter now. He should wait. He should wait and set him up.
Foreman is not keeping his professional
No,
voice.
not at all. Minute and a half to go in the round.
Should measure, pick his opportunities, capitalize. But he's not doing it. He had been frustrated for 6 rounds. And suddenly he realized he had the opponent. Falling him down. A left and a right. Young holding on. Still Foreman can't put him away. Hasn't even sent him to the canvas. 21-foot ring to negotiate in. Young going from rope on one side to rope on another side. Foreman teeing off. Young now getting together, collecting himself, trying to fight back. A big round. This, the 7th round. Heavyweight action. Foreman's arms as we go toward the end of the round. 35 seconds left. Getting led. Look at Young fight back. You see that right? Get into Foreman. Foreman arms grow leaden. Young, a courageous fighter, filled with boxing skills. The crowd on its feet. Young was apparently gone, but far from it now. If you wanted to know about Jimmy Young's heart, you found out about it this round.
And what condition he's in.
Jimmy Young, 5 strikes. George couldn't put him away. This crowd now chanting. 8th round bell. Action coming up. Foreman now knows how he can hurt Young. That much you must say. And Young now knows how Foreman can hurt him. But Young knows he can survive. And Young tries to assume the aggressor's role. Look at that right. Now he's going at George Foreman. Change of tactics, at least in the early seconds of round 8. This is the kind of fight we were expecting, hoping for. Crowd chanting, Jimmy Young, Jimmy Young, Jimmy Young. Clearly the favorite of the crowd. That's one of the things that so emotionally disturbed Foreman his whole career. What, he kept saying to himself, do I have to do to be a crowd pleaser? Why won't they give me their cheers? Eighth round action. Waldemar Schmidt, the 3rd man in the ring. That 21-foot ring didn't hurt Jimmy Young a bit the last round, Chris. Not one bit.
Use it all, and he's been doing it.
George Foreman wanting so desperately to put Young away. Crowd roars again as Young continues, unafraid, unmarked for that matter. Oh, this crowd is getting its money's worth now. 8th round action. 40 seconds left in the round. Young with a left, another left, another. Foreman pursuing, ever pursuing, looking for the one opening, such as he had in the 7th. 10 seconds left. You see it in your lower right-hand corner. Counting down. We're going to stay with these fighters. Wild swing by George. The end, but he couldn't do it. How do you have it scored, Chris?
I have Young ahead because in my book he took the last 2 rounds.
9th round action.
Move it, Jimmy, move it, Jimmy.
Jimmy Young on the move. George ever pursuing, as you can see. Note the way Young covers up with those gloves in front of the face. He's a master at that. Right above us now, the sweat of the fighters pouring down on us, reminiscent of a brilliant Bob Considine description of the past when he was at ringside. Jimmy Young had a quick flurry there. Foreman looking for the kind of opening that he got suddenly from nowhere in the 7th round, but having so much trouble. You see Young covering up. Foreman hitting the fighter's gloves, the fighter's elbows, but Foreman not really hitting Jimmy Young any place where he's vulnerable. Look at Young fight back, counterpunch. Waldemar Schmidt breaks the fighters. The crowd felt right there that Foreman was manhandled. From Jimmy Young's point of view, he must stay either in too close or out too far. He must, from his point of view. From George Foreman's point of view, he must use those fists, keep them in punching position, which against a fighter as quick as Jimmy Young, he has not been doing. 9th round action.
And Howard, if he can keep this up, even though only 29 fights, he's lasted 10 rounds 7 times, once 15 with Muhammad Ali.
He has, as I have said on a number of occasions, Christopher, the Philadelphia smarts. Not the Philadelphia punch, but the cleverness. Good left by Jimmy Young. You couldn't ask for a more masterful exhibition than he gave in the 7th round when Foreman had him ready to go. How he collected himself, held together, and wound up on the attack. The end of the round coming up. The bell for the 10th round. Remember, this is a scheduled 12-rounder. So this is not a final round, just the 10th round. And what an interesting turn this fight has taken. Jimmy Young using every skill, using the size of the ring, keeping his poise, his self-possession, using his gloves to pick off the opponent's punches. And Foreman has not too often had his gloves in punching position. Foreman, sometimes on the verge of losing his own emotional control, quick to anger, thwarted by the referee in the early going when he kept being accused of manhandling, even at one point being penalized a point by the referee in the score. There was a good left by Foreman. There was a good left. Now Foreman trying to capitalize. 10th round action. Foreman punching wildly. Not short, direct, and crisp like they've tried to teach him, but reverting back, or so it seems to your reporter. Look at that. That is not the height of perfection. Trying to use the strength of his body. He's been told by Clemente, his trainer, between rounds to seek to go to the midsection. That's active would have been far more effective earlier on in this fight because it's well known the body blows cumulatively destroy the stamina of the opponent. But this is the 10th round of a 12-rounder, and it's a little late. You saw how quick Young's hands were to get in there. Quick combination. Now Foreman using the strength of his body where he can. Waldemar Schmidt separating the fighters. Keep throwing the number of blows Foreman is throwing. From the awkward position he's throwing them from. And keep hitting air, empty air, the arms. Very heavy. Make no mistake about it, Jimmy Young has felt the weight of that body through 9 grueling rounds, and this is the 10th. So he's a tired young man. He is a professional, this kid. You saw Jimmy with a wild right himself. So tired. Over the head of Foreman. Schmidt breaking them apart. The crowd booing George Foreman for his mauling tactics. We come to the end of the 10th round. The bell for round 11, and there is puzzlement in the eyes and face of George Foreman. He really believed that he would get to Jimmy Young, and quickly. It has not happened. There's Young with a left lead, scoring. Each fighter closed the 10th round dead tired. I suspect, however, that Foreman is most tired in the arms. He's caught a lot of empty air tonight, and he's caught a lot of Jimmy Young's gloves. He's caught Jimmy Young primarily in the 7th round, when it appeared he could put him away. Master, with ultimate ring craftsmanship, Young kept himself together, covered up, stayed away when he had to, and then came back fighting, scoring with counterpunches at the end of the 7th round. Now we're in the 11th. George Foreman has rarely had to go this kind of distance. He got knocked out in the 8th by Ali, as you all know. Twice he had to go 10 rounds against Gregorio Peralta. Look at Young working to the midsection as he's in close with Foreman tied up. And then once he went 10 rounds against Levi Fortin. Same spelling as my director, who is 1/3 of Forty's size. I refer, of course, to Chet Forty. Jimmy Young growing in confidence now. He began trying to take the offense in a limited kind of way in the 9th round, having survived what he did in the 7th. Look at him, walk away, hands inside. Three times Big George had to go into the 10th round. But I have no present recollection of him ever having to go into the 11th. Foreman off balance. Amateurish. Jimmy Young working him over. Oh, interesting fight in terms of tactics and strategy.
All 12,000 standing with a round to go.
Been this way ever since the 7th round when Young survived.
And it's hot.
Foreman's eyes are bright, but somehow you have to question the legs and arms and the stamina of this man, because he becomes a little bouncy and not quite secure on that canvas as the rounds progress. You have seen for yourself. We approach the end of this round. I've had so many experiences, Chris, with these judges and these officials that you hesitate to call it. I have Young ahead on my call.
So do I.
12th round action. See the way Young ties Foreman up. Foreman, a tired man now, almost receptive to it. See the way George is now bouncing on his feet Now that's not just good foot action.
You can't punch from there either, solidly. Got George Foreman.
12th and final round. Look at Jimmy Young on the inside, scoring with combinations. Well, they'll know that Jimmy Young is a fighter after this fight. Somebody said to him at a press conference the other day, a lot of us don't think you've got the heart. He said, what do you know about my heart? He said, I do my thing in the ring. And he showed his heart tonight in the 7th round. Listen to the crowd now. They picked up the chant again. Jimmy Young, Jimmy Young, Jimmy Young. Foreman, yes. Foreman off balance. Reminiscent in a way of the Ali fight, the 8th round. A minute and 15.
He's tired.
Left to go in the fight. Foreman tries again. Slip, slip, no knockdown, slip.
If that's a knockdown, that'll help Young.
Wait a minute.
It's counted as a knockdown.
He counted it as a knockdown.
Right.
Debris pouring into the ring. Foreman, desperation registered in his face.
Less than a minute, Howard.
50 seconds left to go. Jimmy Young doing his thing. Come on, Jimmy. 1 minute. Still thought it was a slip, Christopher. I didn't see a clean blow. But the referee saw it as a knockdown. And so the 8th. Look at Young. Foreman with a half-minute left. Foreman holding on around the neck. George has 15 seconds left, and he appears to be in no condition to do anything. He is lumbering.
He's looking at the clock. Too late. 5 seconds.
This fight is over. And look at that crowd get to its feet. Look at Jimmy Young right above us at ringside, waving his arms aloft in what he feels is certain victory. You talk about figuring out how to fight an opponent. You talk about going into a fight with a fight plan. That's what Jimmy Young did tonight, and he made it stick from beginning to end. I'll go on record right now, Christopher. I think Jimmy Young cleanly won this fight. We'll be right back with the decision.
And here we are in that 12th and final round. George Foreman on the left and Jimmy Young on the right. That little left hand off balance, and then her high right glancing off the board. And now see if there was, well, there wasn't a little bit of a shove, but he did go down. His gloves touched the canvas, and we checked with Ishmael Fernandez, one of the judges, a moment ago, and it is scored as a knockdown. Now we have to listen very closely here along with you on the scoring. The referee Vladimir Schmidt, worldwide in reputation. Ishmael Fernandez, the judge that Frank Gelb, the manager of Ronnie McGarvey, who lost on a TKO at 2:03 of the 6th round against the world champion, was the other judge, along with Cesar Ramos, as we go to Howard in the ring. Howard?
All right, Chris, as usual, the bedlam scene. I'm with Jimmy Young, but we're still awaiting the official decision. Jimmy, he wants to talk to George Foreman, understandably, for just a moment. All right, as you can see, I have George and Jimmy both here. We're awaiting the decision. George, first your comment on the kind of fight Jimmy Young fought.
No comment, Howard.
No comment? Okay. Jimmy, your comment. You made your fight plan stick as you saw it.
Yes, although I got hurt real bad. I think it was the 5th round. To tell the truth, I didn't really think I was going to make it.
It was the 7th round, Jimmy.
The 7th, I don't even remember. I think it was desperation.
Desperation, you say, kept you alive. Here's the decision.
116, 112 y millón. El referee Waldemar Smith. 118, 111 y millón.
Jimmy Young has gotten a nod from
Jimmy
two
Young
officials.
has won the fight. Jimmy Young made his fight plan stick. Jimmy, just a final word, because you've already told us that desperation enabled you to survive that 7th round. Jimmy Young with a unanimous decision. Our congratulations to you. Jimmy,
down, man.
Jimmy, I don't... Jim, can I have you facing the camera for 1 minute? Jim, what now? You want to get back at Ali.
I'm listening first. Keep him, Red.
You want
yes.
Ali.
Ooh, somebody's scratching me. Yes, if he wants to fight. If not, or if he doesn't return to the ring, I will fight the other top contenders. Perhaps, maybe, the winner of the Ken Norton, Dwayne Bobbitt fight. Or whoever my managers and Don King get together with.
Well, you remember once you were Norton's sparring partner for his 2nd bout against Ali. He cut you out of camp because he couldn't hit you in the head, remember?
Yes, I remember, but I got a lot of experience working with, that's where I really found out that I was, well, I won't say pretty good, a good fighter training with Ken. Because I gained a lot of experience with Ken Norton, Jerry Quard, Joe Frazier, and Muhammad Ali in 3 exhibition bouts.
Okay.
And I want to say that I'm not going to say anything negative about George, because he is a good fighter in his own way, because he hurt me real bad. You said it was the 7th round. And like I said, to tell the truth, I didn't think I was going to make it. But it was desperation, all the talk I've been doing here and elsewhere, especially Philadelphia and Cyber Street, where I come from, North Philadelphia, 24th and Cyber.
All right,
and
Jimmy.
I'm very glad. And I don't think George Foreman is a bum after all. And George Foreman will not be easy to beat by the rest of the contenders. I won't say who he can beat, who he can't, because I don't want to disapprove the other fighters, but he's a good fighter.
Okay, our congratulations to you. You fought your fight. We made
I really think I had George hurt about 3 or 4 good times, but I still wanted to be careful because George Foreman, he throws very sneaky shots, and they're real heavy, man. Real heavy.
Okay.
Especially with that hook inside right here.
Hope you get your shot against Ali. Now you deserve it. The whole country knows you're a
I've been waiting a
fighter.
long time for this fight since December when I signed for the fight.
Take care.
I'm glad it's over. Thank you, Howard.
Again, congratulations. Good luck to you. Let's get out of this madhouse.